All right. Welcome, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started to make sure we have a lot of great panelists lined up. We want to make sure to give them the full hour to give us their insights and their feedback. So, thank you to joining the Empowering Women in Tech Pathways to Success Through Apprenticeships webinar. We're excited to present today's webinar in celebration of the 10th year of National Apprenticeship Week. We have panelists from CompTIA, Google, United Airlines, and the Illinois Department of Innovation and Technology. Our moderator is from the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity. Before we dive into the presentation, I just want to go over some housekeeping notes to ensure a smooth experience for all attendees. First, please note that this webinar will be recorded and posted on the Apprenticeship Illinois website in the future. We also encourage you to stay on mute to minimize distractions during the presentation. If you do have any questions during the presentation, please feel free to enter them into the chat, and we'll do our best to address those questions at the end of the webinar as time allows. I also would like to now hand off the presentation to our moderator, Julio Rodriguez, to start with introductions for all of our panelists.
Thank you, Jordan. Good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Julio Rodriguez. I'm the Deputy Director for the Office of Employment and Training here at the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity. Today, I'm joined by a great group of panelists and really leaders and future leaders, hopefully in the tech industry and the great opportunities that that industry offers. I thought I would start before I have our panelists introduce themselves with just giving you a little bit of a breakdown of sort of what does tech look like, both nationally and in particular here in Illinois. One of the things that we know about the tech industry is one, it is not sort of a homogeneous industry. There are so many opportunities in IT. There's great number of occupations, and in fact, tech touches almost every industry you can think of, whether it's healthcare, manufacturing, and now we even see tech going to be a major player in the quantum space. And we're very excited here in Illinois. Our Governor Pritzker, has been launching apprenticeships for like the last decade. And we're very, very proud of the fact that as a state, we have continued to increase our numbers in the apprenticeship space. In fact, to date, we are up to 21,000 apprentices across the state. We have over 1,600 employers engaged in the work that we're doing around apprenticeships. So we are very, very excited to continue to grow. But as many of you know, one of the things about any industry is who is the workforce? What is the workforce that lies in that space? And how can we create pathways for more opportunities to really diversify the industry, and in particular, IT industry, where we really want to see what opportunities we can put forth to really engage more women in this space. So let me give you a little bit of some background on just the sort of what does it look like here in Illinois as it relates to different demographic groups. So right now in IT, about 8% of tech positions are filled by African Americans. African Americans fill out about 13% of the overall total workforce in many occupations here in Illinois. In terms of Hispanics, Latino, and Latina, we have about 8% of folks in the tech industry and 16% across all occupations. And in terms of women in tech, in Illinois, about 27% of women are in the tech industry, and they represent about 49% of overall occupations. So obviously, there's opportunities for growth in all of these demographics as well as others. I should say to you that at least in Illinois, we expect that tech will have two times an overall growth rate here in this Illinois. It is one of the areas where we see the greatest potential for growth in the next 10 years. And that is not only in sort of the traditional tech industry, but when you look at cybersecurity, when you look at quantum, when you look at various other aspects of sort of how tech touches various industries, we are going to see a very sustained growth over the next decade. The other thing that we're seeing, and I've mentioned this, is cybersecurity has become something that has become part of our everyday life. I know working at the state of Illinois, we've experienced, I never knew what fishing was going to be, but it was more than carrying a rod and going to a lake. Now fishing becomes something that I actually have to pay attention to on a regular basis every day as part of my workplace. The other thing that's happening is we're seeing tremendous growth in infrastructure. And how does IT fit as we look at new buildings that are going up, that tech has become a sort of fundamental component of how you build a building and ensure all of its security, all of the operations of it are technologically capable. And so there's, again, great opportunities for growth there. Um, we have right now nearly 245,000 tech workers. That's an increase from where we've been. Right now, we anticipate an increase just in 2014 of another over 200,000 jobs that will be available here in the state of Illinois. Another great thing about the tech industry is that tech wages are some of the highest of any industry, and they offer tremendous opportunity. And we think that's why the tech industry is one that we want to continue in the state of Illinois to pay really close attention to. But most importantly, that everyone in Illinois, every resident of the state, has an opportunity to advance and get an opportunity in that industry. And in particular, for today's discussion, we really want to focus, even though we have a good number, 27% is a good number, but there are I'm very, very happy to have this opportunity to present some of our leaders in this industry, in particular, women in the industry and the work that they're doing. So I'm going to right now have each of our speakers uh, introduce themselves, talk a little bit about, and then we're going to go into some questions. And since Donna, I have you on my screen, I'm going to start with CompTIA.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Donna Kopensteiner. I am the Chief Revenue Officer for CompTIA. If you're not familiar with CompTIA, you should be. We are the world's largest provider of tech training and certifications. We cover, obviously, all of North America. We're located in Illinois, and we have a worldwide footprint. So I'm really happy to be on this panel today. I'll pass it over to Kat.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. I am Kat Cooper. I am an apprentice project manager at United Airlines as part of our Innovate apprenticeship program. I'm very happy to be here this morning. I'll pass it over to Chelsea.
Hi, everyone. I'm Chelsea Sirikis. I'm the manager of strategic talent initiatives at United, which is just a very fancy way of saying I help with our early career programs in digital technology and cybersecurity, which includes our amazing apprenticeship program. I'm very excited to share more about our approach to apprenticeship, and I will pass it over to Emily.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Good morning. My name is Emily Knapp. I'm a program manager at Google, and I oversee our apprenticeship program in Chicago. I am based in San Francisco, but get back to Chicago often. I'm just very happy to be here. And then I'll pass it to Rachel.
Good morning, everyone. Julio, those were really fascinating numbers. My name is Rachel Peavy. I'm the CIO for the Illinois Department of Public Health. I work for the Department of Innovation and Technology, but I report to, or I advocate for the agency for IDPH, and my team, we handle all of their application and IT needs. DPH has, over 200 programs. Public health ranges from, clean water to vaccination. So a lot of fun and exciting things happening, and I'm happy to be here.
Great. Thank you all. So I'm going to jump right into the questions, and I'm going to kind of go start with Donna, and then just kind of down the road. And so my first question really is, Donna, in terms of CompTIA, given your worldwide presence, what has CompTIA really been doing around not only utilizing apprenticeship programs and other what we call work-based learnings opportunities like internships to really increase the number of women into your company and into the industry? And just keep in mind that what are some of the other things that CompTIA is outside of the program, but what are other supports, in particular for women, that CompTIA is trying to kind of infuse in the opportunities that you provide?
Sure. Well, first of all, I'm happy to say that from a CompTIA perspective, we've placed a pretty significant kind of spotlight on women. And back probably around 7 or 8 years ago, we formed one group called Tech Girls, and this is a establishment for middle school girls. And we continue to grow this. Right now, they're doing AI, chatbots, all kinds of different types of learning so that we can start women off at an early stage, kind of that infancy to cradle approach. So we do that as part of our overall organization. Secondly, we know that there's a gigantic, what I would say, confidence gap related to people wanting to get into tech. So what we're trying to do from that perspective is we just recently launched, it's basically a site and it's called Career Explorer. And it allows individuals to engage with other types of information and data, like some of the data that you just shared, Julio, where individuals can get a better sense of what a role equals, what a role pays, how many roles there are. And on top of that, really having video content that allows people to see themselves in these roles. I think what we see at CompTIA is a lot of times, I think individuals feel that tech is a male dominated kind of area. And historically, it may have been. But as we need to expand what we're looking at from a tech perspective, we know we need to reach out in a massively significant way to pull so many people into the opportunities that we have in tech. Probably the last thing that I'll mention that we do at CompTIA is that we provide things like best practices. We outline different programs for apprenticeships for organizations, really specifically on the tech front to help people and organizations have a trajectory for on-ramping and off-ramping. You don't necessarily have to have a program that says you're going to equal a cyber analyst. You can have the ability to have flexibility so that you can off ramp and then become an IT specialist and then come back on and on ramp onto the next role. So we want to make sure that we're providing that flexibility because we see that as a real opportunity for individuals like women, individuals that are underserved, that they need that level of flexibility. Within our company, we try and drink our own champagne. So our head of our vice president of technical business support is a woman. We do have women mentorship programs within our organization. And so we're constantly trying to make sure that what we're providing to the marketplace, we're also utilizing within our own organization.
Great. Thank you, Donna. Emily, let's talk a little bit about what Google's doing and some of the things that you've done around apprenticeships and other work-based learning efforts.
Yeah, I'd love to talk a little bit about kind of how we structure our apprenticeship program at Google because it is slightly different than maybe what you would maybe traditionally see, especially within the tech space. But to its core, our program at Google is a learning and development program. So we're really focused on providing equitable alternative pathways into tech for folks that come from non-traditional backgrounds. So obviously, that's encompassing all different types of backgrounds. But we really see this as a way to invest in the local communities where we have apprenticeship hubs. So we have hubs in Chicago, Atlanta, New York, and Austin as well. So we're really trying to provide economic opportunities and truly develop the workforce within those hubs, not just for Google, but for the entire tech ecosystem. So our main goal is to really help apprentices find meaningful opportunities post-program, whatever meaningful opportunity means to them. So that could be entry-level jobs, that could be continuing education, that could be another apprenticeship program. So we launched our program back in 2021. We actually started with the IT track. So we're relatively new, I would say. Even though we're going on our third year of our program, it is still new. I think tech apprenticeships in general are new in the US. We took a lot of learnings from our program in Europe, but we're learning and growing. Our program looks different every year, which is actually something that we're quite proud of because we continue to grow and learn. But essentially for us, we do follow a more traditional model. So our apprentices spend about 80% of their time working alongside their managers and their teams, learning from, really intelligent, great people that work at Google that make Google what it is. They get to work on our products. They get to understand a lot of the emerging technologies that we were just talking about. So they get that firsthand experience, which is something that they can take with them after they leave us. And then the remaining 20% of their time is spent learning related technical instruction with our training provider. So that's encompassing of our Google Career certificates. So they work to complete those certificates so that when they leave us, not only do they get the Department of Labor certified certification when they leave, but they also receive our Google Career certificate as well. And our program is 18 months. So it's a substantial amount of time that they're working and learning alongside folks. So we're super excited to welcome another cohort next year. And like I said, just kind of continue to grow and learn. So yeah.
Great. Thank you, Emily. I'm going to pivot a little bit because I'm going to ask Rachel because Illinois, the state of Illinois is first launch into the apprenticeship space. And I'm happy to say that we're starting with tech. So I actually want to welcome Rachel and to talk a little bit about what does it look like in the public sector and what are some of the challenges and opportunities that exist there.
Sure. Yeah, and, with state government, who as well as I do, right? Some of these apprenticeships and things are not as easy to start and develop as it would be in the private sector. DoIT did launch they had their first cohort this year of a pilot program with Lincoln Land Community College. And it's a cohort of 20 students basically who trying to get tech talent, build a pipeline to meet the growing demand that we have for skilled professionals and, importantly, diversify the agency's workforce. So that has started. They have a track. They start with like a base salary, 54,000, I think it is, as they're going through the program. And then, if they complete the program, satisfactorily, then there's a job waiting for them in different roles, and cybersecurity is one of them. It's not geared just, specifically to women, it's to anyone. But, again, a pipeline to bring these people in. DoIT does a lot of STEAM activities, whether it's at the state fair, building out how we can get engaged with, K through 12 folks in like state fair events. And then also like in early December, I think it's Computer Science Education Week is what it's called. DCFS is up in Chicago with Google and hosting Chi Tech, I think it's called. And so it's for K through 14 students to kind of just learn about all things computing. So I think there's a lot of room, and I think we'll talk about that in a little bit. I think there's a lot of room to engage, external partners to build some of these pipelines, to bring in new folks and then identify it towards just women, right? Kind of build that pipeline out. So
great. Thanks, Rachel. And last but not least, Chelsea United.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have been in this role for the last 8 months, but I heard about United's Apprentices program in my previous roles, and I was blown away that they were bringing in this fabulous, diverse talent. And I know our program is also relatively new, kind of like Google's. And so we did a lot of figuring out along the way of how do we build this program to be mutually beneficial for us as a company and also the people who participate in it. So we did a lot of research about who are great partners that can help us strengthen our program. We got Department of Labor certified this year, and we published a white paper as well to showcase how we can do it so that we can be an example for others who are maybe not certain about how they can get into the apprenticeship space as an employer, because we're really proud of the fact that we have 60 current apprentices in our program, and they will all have a job at United after they graduate the 2-year Innovate program. We see this as as a great opportunity for us to get that diverse talent in an ever-changing tech market where there's new emerging technology, and create that opportunity to remove the degree requirement and bring in those skills that you can find in any area. We value curiosity, engagement, and that is something that we have seen in spades in our talent. Kat can speak to that as well. But I am just very proud that we have been partnering with some really great local companies, specifically IC Stars in Europe, to bring in our talent. And it's great that they also focus on bringing in women and how we can support them. And at United, we have a lot of women leaders in technology. We're very fortunate that way, that we have an example for people to look up to and say, I can see the chief security officer is a woman. I can see we have women VPs, MDs. And so we host talks with them to really help people feel inspired and see this isn't just a 2-year apprenticeship. This is your opportunity for a lifelong career where you can be a leader, you can be my boss, you can be lots of people's bosses, and inspire us all to do great work.
Great. Thank you, Chelsea. Well, Kat, you're our our testimonial person that can really talk about what's the experience like. So tell us a little bit about what has it been like to be an apprentice at United, and what I'd be very curious as to one, what sort of drew you in? What, why IT, and why United, and sort of what are you hoping the experience to be for you, and what is it like right now?
Oh, wow. Well, right. Why IT? That is an excellent question. I think, Julio, when you spoke to earlier, like the confidence in terms of just like making that lateral move from a domain or a previous industry into this one, I think what helped most like make that confident leap to another industry was the energy over at United, was this very welcoming sense of like, we want you here and we want to develop you here. And, we want you to see more than just like a temporary stop on your career. We want you to see a life here. There are so many people that are at United that have been there for decades, and you're like, I want to be a part of that family. And so I think when Adriana came over to IC Stars, which is the workforce program that I came through as one of those pipelines for underutilized talent, she was very much rolling out that welcome wagon and made everyone feel like, we can't wait to have you here. And you're like, I got to be part of that energy. And so, and then having come to Innovate, I think for me, the apprenticeship program has been truly transformative in the sense of building and continuously building that confidence through both learning and leadership opportunities. From the very beginning, I think the biggest impact it's had on my career is the guidance and the mentorship. The manager who took me on had a very detailed point by point plan for my career over the 2 years that I'd be a part of the apprenticeship program. And he stayed faithful to that plan every day. And I'm blown away by his commitment to fostering my development. In addition to that, we do have those wraparound learning opportunities that Innovate is very proud of, right? We have a wealth of knowledge at our fingertips through Pluralsight, through other credentials that we can have. We also have different certification opportunities for AWS. And it's never ending the amount of opportunities that we have in terms of learning and showing up as a leader. And so I think for me, that's really what's drawn me in and kept me here.
Great. Wow. I may need a career change now. So, well, that's very exciting. So, and I'm gonna kind of reverse the order, and I'm gonna actually start with you, Chelsea, around United, just because Kat said some very interesting things. One, who have been some of your partners that have really helped you kind of find folks that would be a good fit to the program? And then, Kat mentioned this mentor, like supervisor, that point by point plan. Like, what are some of the things that you've embedded in the apprenticeship programs that you think have really um, been the sort of driver to success, I guess? So if you could kind of share with us.
Absolutely. Our current partners, IC Stars in Europe, have been incredible at helping us identify talent, and we're really excited to invite 2 new talent partners next year, DPI and Catalyte. So expanding our provider footprint and bringing in talent from all over the city and state. We see each of those providers has a really wonderful and very rigorous boot camp style program. And so we know without a doubt that the talent coming through it is someone who's going to be able to succeed at United. And once they get here, we make sure the work doesn't stop there because they are with us for 2 years and hopefully much longer after that. So when they join the apprentice program, like Kat mentioned, we have mentor buddy programs. We want to make sure that the apprentices feel welcomed and that they can succeed, especially if this is their first experience in a corporate environment. We want to address that confidence gap and make sure that they have resources, not just for technical questions, but anything related to how often do I come into the office? If I drive, where do I park my car? Things that can seem very overwhelming when you're first starting at a new job that a lot of us take for granted because we've been here for a while. We also make sure that we expose them to all different areas of United so that they can get a broader picture of the impact they get to make in each of their roles. So we have speakers come from all different areas as network planning, marketing, analytics, and innovation, because we want to impress upon them that they have and are making a difference, not just for their team, their group, but for the company as a whole, for our customers who are flying. And I'm very proud of the fact that United also has what we call business resource groups. This is probably one of my favorite things about United is they are employee run but leadership sponsored groups focusing on different employees. I'm part of one that is about promoting women in business. We've had several events, and so they are great at hosting topics about how do you balance motherhood and work because we have apprentices who are mothers. We have people who are at all different walks of life, and we want to make sure that they have the skills and resources to be successful and that we can adapt and be flexible to them because it's not enough just to give them the opportunity. We have to set up the foundation to make sure that they're able to succeed. And that's going to look a little different for everyone. So from a programming perspective, we're making sure that we have that flexibility built in. We're working with the manager of the apprentices so that they understand the talent that's coming in and how to best support them when they first start and regular checking in. That's probably one of my favorite things that I get to do is just make sure how everyone in the program's doing. Are they meeting all of their educational hours every week for online learning? Are they getting access to their manager? CATS is obviously above and beyond with that point program. But just really having those touch points and having those connections so that they do feel welcome and included because we absolutely love having them here.
Great, thank you. Um, Rachel, I know our program at the States are relatively new, but you mentioned Parkland and the community colleges. Who sort of that partnership and what have you seen as one of the advantages of sort of going to an institution like a community college and others that have really helped, to guide the program and to really be a good partner for bringing talent and new folks to state government?
Yeah, and I honestly can't speak too much on that because I'm not really familiar with the initial cohort, just that it's there. But I think, the panel touched on a couple of things I want to touch on too about so much of that too is obviously an apprenticeship program coming in, would be great for us. But a lot of that just starts at like the agency level too, where I've come across people, if we're talking about women explicitly right now, like saying, "Oh, IT, that sounds like that would be a cool job, but I don't do well in math." I know we had that discussion on math, in our when we met last week. In educating these people that there are many facets of tech, and that you don't have to be, a math major to do well, to succeed, to have opportunities in there. So there have been moments, I'm 25 years in with the state. I've been in tech for 25 years. And I don't think would not have been a leader. I didn't have an apprenticeship or anything, but I would not have become a leader without someone above me or around me saying, you know what you should try, or, you have these abilities that you should, look to explore. And, it doesn't have to be a woman. Most of my mentors were actually men. They were, people that I reported to. But it's for me and our teams kind of seeing people within our agencies that either we support or that we work for and educating them about the opportunities that they have and that don't think that, tech is this one thing. There are many facets of it and there's a lot of things to explore.
Great. Thanks, Rachel. Emily, Google, what have been some of the things that um, you see as some of the strengths in the program that you're, as it's evolving and you're learning, But what do you think are some of the core elements that have really made it successful, in particular for women?
Yeah, great question. I think like one of the themes that I keep hearing across all the panelists is just like wraparound support, and I think that that is honestly one of the pillars for our program as well. So that starts honestly from day one. We make sure that our apprentices are first of all paid as soon as they start. They're paid throughout every component of the program. That might seem kind of silly to some, but it actually is it's a huge deal, right? We want to make sure that as soon as you walk in the door, you're fully immersed in Google culture. You're fully experiencing what it's like to be in a corporate setting, to work at Google alongside all of our wonderful Googlers. So that's a big one. Obviously, receiving benefits, having access to all of our internal tools and learning and development opportunities. So Kat also mentioned, I think you probably have internal resources that you can kind of on your own time explore and get to learn. We have a number of resources that are available to our apprentices, but I think probably one of the biggest ones, and kind of like Chelsea was saying, is that we also have employee resource groups here at Google. We have a global women at Google group, and then we also have local chapters. So I would actually say that that's probably one of the biggest reasons why I've stayed at Google as long as I have. And I know that our apprentices really value the ability to join those employee resource groups and find folks that have similar identities, or, just finding a safe space to be able to talk about their experiences and talk about what they're learning and what they're doing. So that's a big piece. I would also say too, specifically for women, we also have a number of different mentoring opportunities. We have something called coffee chats, which is something really fun on Fridays. You get to just surround yourself, with a group of women to talk more about what you're struggling with, maybe not what you're struggling with, but what you're celebrating, and just again kind of have those folks to be surrounded by you. I was actually we also have check-ins, so I was checking in with a couple of our participants last week, and one of them has taken on something called a 20% opportunity. So those are opportunities that are available to all Googlers, to all apprentices, to be able to just kind of explore a different part of the program or of the company, and just work at a 20% capacity. And this apprentice actually created a 20% opportunity on their own, and they're actually supporting a Latina at in Chicago. They're doing some newsletters for them. They created their own opportunity to get more involved within that specific employee resource group. And so it's just really exciting to see our folks really immersed in the culture and taking full advantage of all the opportunities and resources that we have available to them.
Great, Emily. I'm glad we're recording this because there's so many great ideas that I'm going to be stealing just to help share with our apprenticeship network, because I think there's just some great things that are really happening in each of your companies. Donna, I mean, I know CompTIA is sort of doing a lot of different things. You mentioned them in the sort of your opening remarks, so I'm very interested in hearing, especially because you're sort of also a sort of network of other IT companies. And so I'd be interested in hearing some of how CompTIA is sort of leveraging some of those relationships as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like people hear Google and they hear United and they think, oh my God, you have to be a really, really big company in order to have an apprenticeship. And I think that if there's one thing we could hopefully have people walk away with is that you can create mentorships within your organization. But there's a couple of key elements, right? You've got to have commitment at that C level, right? They've got to see the value, whether your apprenticeship is 5 people or 500 people. You have to have that executive buy-in. You've got to make sure that there's, I hate to use the word ROI, but I will, but there is an incredible benefit to an organization that is able to take individuals and take them through an apprenticeship program in a very structured manner so that they can have the success that the organization's looking for, as well as fill areas and roles that might be difficult for organizations. So when we think about tech in general, we know that there's these big, gigantic gaps that are coming, they're right around the corner and they're here right now. I mean, I'm a data person. So one of the other big data points for the state of Illinois is between January and September of this year, there were 82,000 IT postings or tech postings in the state of Illinois alone. In the state of Illinois alone. And there's not enough people that have some of those skills to be able to fill it. And so these organizations are really clamoring for individuals to be able to set up a small apprenticeship program and be committed to it will allow them to take that individual from that entry level position into maybe that larger scope security position. So we think that that is absolutely critical as organizations, look to embrace an apprenticeship type program. The other thing that I'll mention too, from a tech perspective, is everything is tech these days. Okay. So we can say you're going to be an IT specialist or you're going to be a network engineer or what have you. But every single role that anyone has is going to involve some level of technology. And so that ability for organizations to make sure that they're embracing it at the front end, as opposed to someone not understanding how technology is going to work within their role is another critical area that CompTIA sees that we're trying to extend out with other types of training so that there's, AI for sales, AI for marketing, just different areas. And there's a whole world of pieces for finance, et cetera, that allows individuals to have a broader understanding of how they can bring technology into their current role and be able to be more effective, more efficient, find that capacity, et cetera. So those are some of the things that we're looking at. And, when we talk to other organizations, which we talk to a lot of different companies, everybody's really struggling with the same things that I mentioned. They're struggling with hiring, they're struggling with gaps, and we feel that something along the lines of an apprenticeship helps fill those gaps for these organizations. So I think the more we can be kind of chiming out related to that, the better we'll all be. So
Great.
that's kind of some of the things that we've been seeing.
Great. Thanks, Donna. Kat, I want to go back to you. And so you're in this sort of space. So sort of what are you thinking about in terms of your career? Where do you sort of see this fitting and what do you hope for in terms of the future going forward for you?
Oh, thank you. So obviously my career journey is one of continuous learning in leadership and the opportunity to make a lasting impact at United and beyond. My ultimate goal is to advance into program management and from there become perhaps one of our portfolio managers for our cybersecurity department. I was very blessed to just be dumped immediately into cybersecurity as a part of my apprenticeship program with my amazing manager and got to learn cybersecurity from a project manager standpoint and from there just kind of building on that knowledge now through management of multiple budgets and things like that. So I'm very excited about that. As I also work towards that goal of ultimate portfolio management, I have my sights also set on mentorship. It's not lost on me that I've been very blessed along this journey to have a lot of different professionals invest in me and invest in my leadership and technical skills. And I can't wait to be in a position to give that opportunity back to others as they find their way through the Innovate program and through their professional journey as project managers themselves.
Great. Thank you, Kat. Okay, so I'm going to switch it up just a little bit because you all are amazing people. And so I want to have, and I'm going to start with you, Donna. Talk a little bit about your own journey. What were some of the, I know for me in my career, when I was talking with the apprentices yesterday at an event, one of the things that I said that really shaped my career early on was I learned the value of sort of social networking,
Mhm.
building my social capital and the people that I brought into my life around my career really helped set the stage for where I am today. I started as a youth counselor in a workforce program with the high school I graduated from. And I remember someone saying to me, Julio, you touch individual lives. Imagine what you would do if you were a leader in this work and you would touch hundreds of lives. And quite frankly, I then set a trajectory to be here where I am today. because people encouraged me along the way to give voice to my vision. So I would be curious to see what has happened along, and I know some of you are younger, so but what have been some of the things that you've learned along your path to where you want to get to in your careers? I asked Kate about, or Kat about what some of her aspirations are and some of the things that she's sort of looking to do going forward. So Donna, let me start with
Yeah,
you.
sure. I guess the number one thing that I think of or that comes to mind is it is so incredibly important to have somebody that believes in you. Um, Especially when you're just starting out from a career perspective, right? That individual that kind of has your back or can give you some guidance or helps you through, it's just something that is just it's not seen as much as it needs to be seen. So from my background, I basically got into tech by accident. Okay, I was planning to be a graphic designer. I couldn't afford the art supplies that were necessary when I went into college, and so I shifted to business. And then the internet really didn't exist when I got out of college, if you can believe it. That's how old I am. And so, what you did is you spoke to people or you read newspapers to find out companies that seemed to be, strong individuals. So it was very word of mouth. And so someone mentioned to me, "Hey, there's this great company. You should go work for them." I didn't even know when I went to interview for them. Granted, I'm like 22 at the time. I didn't even know who they were or what they did, right? But I got there, I interviewed, I guess, okay. And they put me in a program. And I was thinking about this last night. It wasn't really an apprenticeship, but it actually was, where they said, "We don't have a role for you, but we'd like you to better understand what we're all about. And then we'll figure out maybe where we could put you." Well, the company ended up being a $5 billion technology company. And so they gave me an incredible base from a technology perspective. And I'll tell you, I was lost. I was in a PBX room. If you don't know what a PBX room is, it's like a phone room that has all kinds of things that you're supposed to change and what have you. They taught me all different types of things from a computer perspective. And, from my background, it gave me a base and it gave me a certain level of confidence and it gave me individuals who believed in me. And from there, like I talk about, fringe, I'm not a cyber analyst, right? But I can sell technology. I understand technology. I know how to position technology. I can understand the needs of an individual and kind of how to connect those dots with them. And so although I'm not in that IT tech role, my role requires a lot of dependency on understanding technology. And so I feel pretty blessed to be able to have had that background and be able to carry it through. But kind of my words of wisdom to a certain extent is have somebody, if you can, that believes in you. And then believe, absolutely positively believe in yourself. And I heard this mentioned as well. Be curious. You absolutely positively want somebody who's curious, and you need to be curious. Always ask yourself, why? How did that work? Why did it work right? How could I do it better? What should I look at it in a little bit of a different way? And surround yourself with people that are positive. And my last quote, and this is what I do, don't overthink it. Anybody in any of these roles, just don't overthink it. Believe in yourself and you'll make mistakes every once in a while, but you will far exceed your expectations if you just kind of follow the basics, the real simple basics. So that's kind of like what I'm all about and kind of the philosophy I live by.
Great. Well, you got a shout out, Donna. In
I
the chat.
did.
You did. And so when you get a second to chat, and I want to encourage people to put questions in the chat because we're going to open it up to questions in just a few minutes and stuff. So Emily, I'm going to turn to you. Sort of what was your path and what were some of the key sort of folks or things that happened?
Yeah, so I think my path to Google was a little bit of an interesting one. So I actually started out in more of like a recruiting role, and I think that that's probably one of the things that I carry with me is that everything is a foot in the door, right? So I knew that I didn't necessarily want to be in recruiting as like the long term, but it was an opportunity and I took it. I had actually never even been to California. The first time I came to California was for my interview for Google. So, you just sometimes you have to take the leap and sometimes it will work out, sometimes it won't. But this particular instance, it ended up working out. And obviously, 9.5 years later, I'm still here at Google. But a lot of what Donna said really resonated with me. I think very quickly, I experienced a lot of imposter syndrome. And I think that that's something that a number of folks experience, especially women in a very male dominated field. It's very natural to feel that way. And I think being able to find someone as a mentor or as a manager that can invest in you and kind of help you see beyond the role that you're in is really critical, especially at a company like Google or any major, bigger company. There's a number of different fields and ways and paths that you can go. And it's really not possible for one person to be able to, know all of those opportunities. And so I very quickly, a piece of advice that was given to me is kind of like keep as a mission as you kind of go throughout your career is to seek to understand. So I keep that with me as I'm like meeting new folks. I'm trying to understand what is their role, what's their purpose, what's their why. It tells you a lot about the types of opportunities that could possibly be ahead for you. And I think for me, just if there's somebody that's doing something that's interesting, seek to understand what it is and get to know them. Just you talked a lot, Julio, about building your social capital, and that's the way to do it. If there's something that you're interested in, find someone that does that job and reach out. I've noticed that a lot of people really like to talk about themselves and the work that they do. So it's really easy. It seems intimidating at first to set up those coffee chats and you're like, oh, this is hard, or why am I doing this? And it can feel a little awkward at first, but if you're just curious about what it is that someone does, you never know like what it's going to lead to. And people really like to talk about themselves and their work. So leading with that, really helps it expand the possibilities. So be curious, seek to understand, and shoot your shot. Just do the coffee chats. It really helps.
Great. Thanks, Emily. Rachel.
Yeah, Emily and Donna really nailed it. I think about imposter syndrome. I'm almost 50. I've been in this career for 25 years. I still have imposter syndrome at times, right? That's normal. I think, to share that and be vulnerable with those feelings, it helps to, okay, this is normal, right? I'm still really capable and I believe in myself. So much of that too is surrounding yourself with cheerleaders, right? As you go through, your organization, you meet people, find the people that are going to cheerlead for you and help develop you. And also, as Emily was saying, try to understand all the processes of other people, right? So always be curious. I'm in IT, but I'm supporting fiscal on things. You get to know the fiscal people, and it's like, well, tell me more about your process, right? It builds those relationships. So then you don't just have this network, within your office or within tech. It's you're seen as a curious person, a helpful person, throughout the agency or wherever you work. So I think that's really important. I don't know that I have anything better to add than, Donna and Emily so far. Just so much of that is believing in yourself, finding someone to cheerlead for you and like you said, shoot your shot. Know what you have, know your self-worth for sure.
Yeah, something Rachel you said earlier that I think is good. Sometimes a mentor doesn't necessarily isn't the person you think would be the mentor that
Sure,
you
sure.
choose, right?
Yeah,
You said that there were many men in your life that
yeah.
and in your career. So I think,
Mhm.
yeah, sometimes the greatest advice can come from the strangest of places, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Right. Chelsea.
Oh, well, I think the only additional thing besides all this great advice is one thing that I like to tell people that I wish didn't take me so long to learn in my career is that you shouldn't wait until you feel ready to make a change because you may end up waiting for a long time. And if you hold yourself to these arbitrary standards, like, okay, I'm gonna do this once I hit this point, or I need X amount of people backing me up. Like, give yourself the gift of believing in yourself. And even if you have a cheerleader and mentors in your corner, if you're not going to take that step yourself, they can't put you in that opportunity. So, regardless of whether you think you're qualified or ready, shoot your shot, take that chance. And that was a big change I made when I came to United. I started networking endlessly, which is how I got my current role. And it was uncomfortable. And I felt like, maybe I'm doing it wrong or I don't know if I belong here. But it was through that uncomfortability that I can now see that in others, if they're uncertain, I can say, hey, you may think that I feel confident, feel comfortable. I'm kind of just faking it half the time. You just have to do it anyway, and it's gonna work out.
Great. Thank you, Chelsea. Kat.
Julio. Oh,
Uh-huh.
I just want to let you know so that we've got a couple questions rolling in. So whenever you
Yep.
have
Yep.
want to,
Yep. I'm gonna have Kat finish us up, and then we'll go to the questions in the chat.
Right, so I was definitely a big proponent of fake it till you make it for a very long time until I came across this other quote that really kind of resonated with me was face it till you make it, right? Like owning that you have no idea what is going on or what any of these acronyms mean in this stand-up call and say, hey, what does LOF mean? How can I get more information on that? How does this work with that? How does what I'm doing impact the larger infrastructure of our team? And so just kind of digging in after you've had that accountability moment with yourself and just saying, man, this is a great opportunity to just learn everything I possibly can, take advantage of the fact that you're the new guy here, and lean on the support that you have, I would say has definitely been really transformative from my experience.
Great. Great. So, thank you, panelists. I'm going to take a couple of questions. There was one specific, Emily, for Google. Um, the question came from Donna. Did any employees already at Google express interest in upskilling through your apprenticeship program?
Yeah, thanks for the question, Donna. So I think about this actually in a couple of different ways. So if we're talking about just like general upskilling, like if we're talking about like AI advancement or anything within that sector, we actually have a number of different resources available to us as part of like training. Or different courses that we can take. But one thing I wanted to touch on in terms of like general development and upskilling, maybe in like a leadership capacity. So our apprentice managers, our process is slightly different. So we have an application process for our apprentice managers. And so really how we kind of see the apprentice manager role is more of a learning and development opportunity for them actually to gain leadership experience. So for us, our apprentice managers are typically individual contributors that might be interested and potentially being a manager one day. So we provide different trainings and resources for them. So we kind of see it as they're kind of in their own apprenticeship program, if you will, on how to be a leader. And hopefully, once they finish the program, they can become additional leaders here at Google. So hopefully that helps to answer your question.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Emily. We got a question from Deborah about programs to get into IT space, especially in the sort of Chicagoland area. Are there programs that you would encourage people to join that have the, opportunity to get that baseline training on IT? And I'll just open it up to the whole panel in terms of ideas you have for potential programs. And then I have a follow-up question to that as well.
I'll kick us off just because we have fabulous partner programs that do not require upfront costs and in fact pay you wages while you are learning those programs. I can paste them in the chat, but they are IC Stars, which Kat can also speak to, Year Up, DPI, and Catalyte. And they all have fantastic resources, really rigorous curriculum, and are a great place to kickstart a tech career because they are so ingrained with a lot of Chicagoland employers already.
Great.
Yeah, I can also mention if you go to CompTIA.org, there's quite a few resources that you could utilize. I also see Perscolis is on the call with us, and they're one of our partners. They, I believe, provide some free training to individuals as well in that IT sector. So that might be another area to look into. So we could probably outline a few different partners that we do business with that help people kind of get jump started. We also work with quite a few community colleges within the Chicago and the state of Illinois area as well.
Yeah. One thing I will to a plug for CompTIA is they do a boot camp that has been very successful. And you can actually find some of these services on illinoisworknet.com. That's the statewide site for a lot of training programs, and many of them are free or can be offered free by going through our local workforce centers as well. One question that, and this is an area that we're going to be exploring as a state, is artists. Uh, I know, Donna, you had talked about being in the graphic sort of artist sort of space, but we're seeing a lot of folks that we sort of call folks in the creative space that are also looking at IT as a potential sort of side career or something that really complements their like creative side. And we're actually looking at doing gaming as an apprenticeship in the future. So, anyone's thoughts around that, around how do the folks in the sort of creative space get into the IT space?
Yeah, I can chime in first here. So that is a really interesting area that we saw a lot at DPI is people who were concert cellists who had these really long tenure careers in that artistic space and encouraging them to lean into those transferable skills and how that can make you very successful in tech. Because you can teach someone how to code, but you can't teach the discipline it takes to become a concert cellist. And so giving them the confidence to see their strengths and those differentiators and how they can apply that into those tech roles.
Great.
Just to expand on that too, from our end, we actually had a professional saxophonist that was part of our very first cohort, which was incredible. And it was the same kind of thing. We really focused on, what are those durable skills that no matter what type of role or field that you're going to go into are going to be critical no matter what. And so, yeah, all of the things that they can learn on the job, we're it's just the durable skills are going to be the same no matter what. But I was also going to say for our program, one thing that we're really proud of is that one of the requirements is that you have less than 1 year of experience or exposure to the profession of the track that you're applying for. So we welcome the folks that have those types of backgrounds, that are curious and have more of just a true passion for the field. So we highly, highly encourage it.
All right, great. As we come up on the hour, I want to give everybody a chance, and I'm going to start with Kat. What's one other thing that you want to share with our audience and with your peers? That's a nugget, a little tip that, just, helped you, or you think is something that you kind of always kind of keep in the back of your mind.
Absolutely. Thank you. So, to speak to like artists in the tech space as well, I actually had a degree, I have a degree in fashion design, and was in fashion design for many years before moving into the tech space. So it's one of those things where maybe you're saying to yourself as someone that's coming over from the creative space, like, how do the skills that I've acquired, right, transfer or translate to tech? And the answer is they absolutely do. You can definitely look at even from the way that you make a garment, right? There are order of operations in that and how that translates to project management or BA or any kind of development role. And so I would say definitely just take a really good look at all of the things that you do, what you're passionate about, how those things work. And I promise you, it translates to tech and they want you here.
Great. Anyone else that wants to just offer a tidbit or a nugget for our audience around tech and particular women in tech?
Yeah, and I think I'm sorry, I don't remember which panelists talked about it, but that's social circle. Maybe that was you, Julio. Building that social circle and communicating with people, what you do, what you want to do, being interested in them. I think that has served me probably the most well, right? Having those soft skills, those people skills, but surround yourself with people, from all different areas within in the organization or in, the industry, however. And I'm really going to take Emily's coffee chats to the next level. On that, with that, too, sitting here listening to the panel, I thought, I should do a Women in Tech Illinois. We should get something kicked off. We will have we just had a digital government summit here this week. And the women that I know from the other agencies or, our vendor partners, we always do like a thing the night before. We have a Women in Tech reception. So we do that on our own to, get together, network, talk about what's happening, what's not happening. But to have something more sort of in place, that's sort of my takeaway from here is what it was when I want to develop. So it was a really
Great,
great panel.
great. Uh, Chelsea, Emily,
Yeah,
Donna?
I'll chime in with one of my favorite quotes since we were sharing quotes earlier. It's now that you don't have to be perfect, you can be good. So don't let the fear of not being able to do something perfectly stop you from understanding that you can do a really good job.
Great, thank you. Emily, Donna?
Yeah, I think I'll just continue to echo the seek to understand and continue to be curious. I think, like we've been talking about, is that there are a number of very transferable skills. And even if you don't feel like you're 100% ready or 100% meet the qualifications, try, like what's the worst thing that can happen, right? You'll probably learn something no matter what. So stay curious and try.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, I'll just say, text the future. So you got to embrace it, right? Run into it and don't overthink it. I mean, I say this all the time to people. I'm like, don't overthink it. Sometimes you look back and something that really worried you or you didn't think you were going to be able to accomplish and you look back at it and you're like, why was I even worried about that, right? Inside every individual are just extraordinary things that are just waiting to come out. So believe in yourself and find somebody that believes in you. Those are like my keys.
Great. Well, first of all, I want to thank everybody on the panel. You all have been amazing. I don't know if you've been watching the chat, but everybody who's been with us this morning gives you all a lot of kudos and are grateful for the opportunity. Thank you all who were on the joined us today. This has been great. We want to continue to do these kinds of things going forward and not just on Apprenticeship Week. And again, I want to thank Donna, Emily, Rachel, Chelsea, and Kat. Thank you all for joining us today. And everyone, try to stay warm and get through the snow for those of you who are here up in the city. Thank you all. Have a great day, everyone, and a great
Thank you,
week.
everyone.
Thank you, Julio.
Bye.
Thanks all.